The game, here we go again, all glory to it. All things I am and own are because of Rollerball murder. Hello, my name is Duncan and welcome to Back Away from the Donkey or Bath Books. And today we're talking about the short story Rollerball Murder by William Harrison. I've been playing around my lighting because it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's dark and it's getting darker every day. So I just need to find a way to be able to record when the light's not as good. But I said, yeah, you may know the story more from the 1975 Norman Jewison film, Rollerball, with James Caan starring in it. I said there was a 2002 remake, which was a bit of an abomination, even with the director of Die Hard on board and the wonderful Jean Reno. But the Norman Jewison film it's flawed, but it's great. The problem is with the film is they promoted it on all the violence and all the sport of it, when that is only probably about 10% of the film. And so when people went to see it, they were a bit sort of surprised. But you can imagine me as a young boy in the late 70s thinking, oh, that looks good, and that was exciting, and that was one of the things. But anyway, the other week I decided I'd never read this story, so I thought, I went to search for it. It's very difficult to hold on Rollerball Murder. It was originally published in Esquire magazine in 1973, and then it went to Harrison's own short story collection, which was just called Rollerball Murder and Other Stories. Rollerball Murder is probably the only science fiction story he wrote. As far as I can work out, I think it is, but there might be a slim chance that I'm wrong. So this collection, that is the only science fiction story in it. It's going for absolutely silly money online. I saw one for £87 was the nearest one I could find. But bizarrely, Roy of Roy Reads Everything, I'll put a link to his channel below, managed to find a copy a lot cheaper for me. So I'll be interested to see that. But it is also appear in another collection, which I've shown in the past couple of weeks, which is the year's best science fiction, number 7, which is edited by Harry Harrison and Brian Aldiss, and it's a starring story in that. And you can pick that up really cheaply if you want to see the story, or if you have problems getting hold of it, if you want to read it, contact me and I can show you some of the places that I went to look to find these things, because it wasn't easy to get hold of. But the story, bizarrely, let's get onto the actual short story. The story is, in fact, I would say, more brutal than the film. I'll give you an example. Just a brief example of what I mean by that. This is a bit gruesome. One little bastard with a broken back flaps around for a moment like a fish, then shudders and dies. Balls jump at us as though they have brains. The fate carries me and I somehow know it all. I'm a force field, a destroyer. I kick a biker into the path of the ball, going at least 200 miles an hour. I swerve around a pile-up of bikes and skaters, ride high on the track and zoom down and find a runner who panics and misses a roundhouse swing with his paddle. Without much ado, I belt him out of play with certain knowledge. I've felt it before, and he's dead before he hits the infield. As I said, it is brutal. But the whole premise of the story is you have this game, and the world is split up, run by mega corporations. There was wars and that in the early 90s, and corporations, and they are like energy, transport, food. It's very sort of Orwellian in that sort of theme, like faceless organizations running it. And these corporations, to control the masses, is almost like to keep them, the sport is like almost like a Roman gladiator arena to concentrate everybody on. As the story develops, I said it's only 14 pages long. What you see is the rules change, they get tougher and tougher, and the rules change so that more people are going to die, and it's more of a spectacle. And this is all to gain control. One interesting back part of the story is you hear the fact that all the books were destroyed. Some of them were put onto tapes, but the only people able to really view them is like computer technicians. But you can look at films which are like abridged sum-ups of the life of Socrates or something like this. And so it's almost like a dumbing down of the people to keep them doing what you want them to do. But the whole base of the story was we follow Jonathan E., who's the main man, who was James Caan in the film, and we're following him, and it's him mentally trying to find his place. He's been playing the game for 18 years, and he thinks he wants something more, and it's his realization that the game is him, and he is everything to the game. And it's quite interesting because the juxtaposition between the film and the short story is that the short story, it feels like you can have one major star, whereas the film, the main purpose of the film was to show they wanted him to retire in the film. Sorry, spoiler for the film. They wanted him to retire in the film because they didn't want one hero. They wanted to show that to do things you have to do as a team and within people. So it's all really interesting. And the book shows Jonathan being like how emotionally isolated he is, and he's trying to come to terms, and it's quite grim. Harrison's language in it is, in some ways, it's quite beautiful, quite poetic in its brutality, as I read to you earlier. And that's what makes, you get the cadence is almost poetic-like. And I said, I've really, really enjoyed this story. I'm quite interested to read some of his other stories, which I said aren't science fiction. And from what I've read about the collection, The Rollerball, A Murder and Other Stories, the other stories are all about, I have lots of stories about people, how their isolation. And I said, Rollerball Murder in that way, discusses Jonathan's isolation and how he finds purpose and realizes that's what he's there to do. It's a really, really interesting short story. So if you can get hold of it, I suggest reading it. And I said I can give you a hand, maybe trying to find a copy if you want to. But yeah, it's just a great little story, and I'm quite shocked the fact that it's not in print anywhere anymore. It's not even in a collection anywhere. It's a well-known story, but it's nowhere to be found in modern books, and it's just a real shame. So yeah, so that's my sum up of Rollerball Murder. I'm probably going to do a section of videos on some short stories I'm going to pick up, especially ones that were adapted into full films, because it's quite interesting to see how such a short work, 14 pages, can be scripted out to a full film. I said they did a very good job with this one, but then the author actually did it out. Yeah, the 1975 Rollerball film has its issues, and it does drag, and I think the characterization in the film is a little flat compared to the book. You can follow the story, you can follow Jonathan's motivations and feel like he's more of a fully rounded character. But it's quite interesting when they do adapt a short story. But anyway, that's all for today. I hope the light's okay, because I've been playing around with lights, as I said. And I'll see you again soon. I'll probably do another pick and mix for the weekend, so keep an eye out for that. And I've got a few other things planned soon.